Welcome to the Revolution of Purpose podcast. I'm your host, John Street, and each week we bring you conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals who have aligned their life with purpose and created extraordinary results.
So I'm going to live through it and accept it radically with grace and hope and love.
I would be proud to be in this council.
It was an honor. I had so much fun.
Tune in every Monday for the Revolution of Purpose solo show and every Thursday for Revolution of Purpose conversations. What if the one thing standing between you and the life you desire is not something that you need to add to your life, but instead is something you need to release, to let go of? What if you've been asking for something new, a new opportunity, a new level of income, a new relationship, a new career, just a new version of your life in general, a new reality, but there's simply no room for it because you're still holding on to what belonged to the old version of you? Today, I want to talk about the principle that I first learned through the teachings of the late Bob Proctor. It's often referred to as the vacuum law of prosperity, or simply the vacuum law. The basic idea is this, that nature abhors a vacuum. So when something is removed, space is created for something else to enter. But I want to take that principle a little deeper today, because I don't believe that this is only about clearing out your closet or getting rid of things that you don't use anymore. I believe there are moments when creating the life you desire requires you to create a vacuum in your schedule or in your relationships, in your business, your thinking, sometimes even in your identity. And when I started thinking about this, I realized how perfectly it connects with what I've been teaching, the law of identity transformation: awaken, become, align, and create. Because sometimes the aligned action necessary to create your new reality is being willing to release what belonged to your old one. Welcome to this episode of Revolution of Purpose, the solo show. So let's talk about this vacuum law. Think about something incredibly simple. Let's say that you decided that you want new furniture for your living room. You find the perfect sofa, the perfect chairs, the perfect tables. You order everything, and you're really excited about what your living room is going to look like. And then delivery day comes, and the truck pulls up, and they bring in your new, beautiful furniture right to your front door. But there's a problem. You never moved out the old furniture. The old sofa is still there. The old chairs are still there. The tables are still there. And now you're standing at the front door saying, "Bring on in the new furniture." And they're asking, "Where do you want us to put it? There's no room." And isn't that exactly what we do sometimes with life in general? We say, "I want more abundance," or "I want a new opportunity. I want a different career or a healthier relationship. I want to become a different version of myself." But we don't release anything. We don't make room for that new version. We want to somehow bring the new furniture in while keeping all of the old furniture exactly where it is, because that's what we know. It's what we're comfortable with. And sometimes it simply does not work that way. Sometimes receiving something new requires creating the space for it first. I experienced this very clearly early on in my real estate career. A couple of years in, there was a season where a large portion of my business became focused around working with investors, specifically out-of-state investors, buying very inexpensive homes that they would turn into rental properties. And I was excited at first because I was getting deal after deal after deal. And in fact, one year I sold more houses than I had ever sold in a single year. But if you looked at the number of transactions, you'd think, wow, he just had an incredible year. But financially, it was the worst year I've ever had in real estate, because those properties were at such a low price point that I was working constantly, had to hire an assistant just to help me run these deals, showing houses, writing contracts, handling inspections, coordinating closings, moving from transaction to transaction, but the commissions were incredibly small. I sold more homes than ever before, yet I didn't even cap with my brokerage that year. More activity was producing less prosperity. And so eventually I awakened to something. I realized I don't want to build my real estate business this way anymore. I want to change the type of business that I'm doing. And I decided I want to become more of a luxury focused realtor. And notice the language there. It wasn't simply, I want to sell a luxury home. I wanted to become my identity change to a luxury realtor. That's an identity decision. And once I made the decision, I started to encounter a problem. My calendar and my business were still filled with opportunities associated with the identity I was trying to leave. Leads would come in for these inexpensive investor properties, and I knew that I could probably turn those leads into transactions. There was money attached to them, but I had to start saying no. Think about how counterintuitive that feels. You're saying you want greater prosperity while simultaneously you're turning down business. You're saying you want to make more money while saying no to opportunities that could make you money today. But what I began to understand was that every time I said yes to something that belonged to the old version of my business, I was using time and capacity that could have been available for the business I wanted to build. I had to create a vacuum. So I began releasing those opportunities. And then something interesting started to happen. People already within my sphere of influence began reaching out to me. They wanted to list their homes. Maybe they had homes in the $300,000, $500,000, even $900,000 range. And they suddenly wanted me to help them list it. They wanted me to help them purchase these homes. And some of these properties were at price points even 10 times higher than the $50,000 and $60,000 homes I had been selling before. The kind of business that I had decided I wanted began showing up. But here's what I want you to understand. The most important vacuum was not in my pipeline. It was in my identity. I had to release the image that I had of myself as the realtor who did the kind of low price investor business that was keeping me so busy and running me ragged. I had to begin seeing myself as someone who could walk into a luxury home, meet with that homeowner, and have the confidence to say, I am the realtor who will sell this property. My reality could not change until I began willing to change the identity that was creating that reality. So this is where the vacuum law connects so beautifully with the law of identity transformation that I've been speaking about lately. The process of the law of identity transformation simply is awaken, become, align, and create. First, you awaken. You awaken to another possibility. For me, the awakening was realizing I don't have to keep building my real estate career this way. Another version of this business is possible. And that's where transformation began. Because you cannot intentionally create a reality that you cannot even imagine. And then you begin assuming the identity of that person who creates that new reality. I had to stop thinking only about selling higher price houses and begin thinking about becoming the kind of realtor who sold those high price houses. Who is that person? How does he see himself? How does he dress? How does he show up? What does he believe he's capable of doing? What does he say yes to? And most importantly, what does he say no to? And then comes alignment, the align part of the identity transformation. This is where the vacuum law really becomes incredibly practical. Please pardon this interruption to your podcast episode. This will not take but a minute. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Do you know that you're capable of more, but your life right now just isn't fully reflecting the person you know you can become? Then I want to personally invite you to schedule a shift mindset call with me. This shift mindset experience is something that I created to help you identify one decision that you can make that will shift your life. And when I say that this is a call with me, I mean exactly that. This is a live, one-on-one personal call between you and I. This is not pre-recorded. This is not a member of my team. It is you and I having a real coaching conversation about your life, and it does not cost you any money. It is a 45-minute exchange of time. I'll give you 30 minutes of my best mindset coaching to help you identify a decision that will create a real shift in your life. And in exchange, I just ask you give me about 15 minutes to show you the coaching experiences that I offer. There's no obligation, but there is an opportunity to create a meaningful shift in your life just from this call. You can schedule yours today at johnstreet.org. Just click on the button that says schedule your shift call. And also, if this podcast is helping you, please subscribe, please like, and please share it. Every time you do that, every time you engage, you are helping to spread this message and inspire someone else to create their best life through also living their own revolution of purpose. Now let's get you back to the Revolution of Purpose podcast. Once you've decided who you're becoming, your decisions have to start aligning with that identity. Sometimes alignment is not about adding something. Sometimes alignment requires releasing something. And for me, aligned action meant turning down business that no longer matched the business I was creating and the identity I now saw myself in. And then finally, there's create. In awaken, become, align, create. Create is the part where you're creating that reality that you dream of having. As your identity changes and your actions become aligned with that new identity, then you begin creating that different reality. I awakened to what was possible. I became the new identity internally. I took aligned action by releasing what belonged to the old identity, and that created room for a different reality. But there's a part of this process that we don't often talk about. It's the space between releasing the old and receiving the new. That is the vacuum. That space can be uncomfortable because it's easy to release something when its replacement is already standing in front of you. If someone says, give up this $50,000 opportunity because here's a $500,000 opportunity, then that's not particularly difficult, is it? But what about when that new opportunity isn't there yet? What about when all you have is the decision about who you're becoming? That's where trust enters the process. That's where faith enters the process. Every decision we make is either fear or faith. It always takes believing in something we cannot see. Sometimes you have to be willing to say, this no longer aligns with who I'm becoming, and I'm willing to release it, even though I can't see yet what will occupy the space. You can envision it, but you may not know how it's going to happen. And that is difficult because the old is familiar. Even when the old isn't what we want anymore, it's still comfortable. It's what we know. And human beings love certainty. So we'll simply cling to a reality that we say we don't want anymore because it's the reality that we're used to. And here's something I learned. You do not have to hate the old furniture to move it out. There's nothing wrong with that sofa. It may have served you beautifully. You may have wonderful memories associated with that sofa. But if you've decided that it's time for something new, eventually you have to make room for that. And that's true in life too. Not everything you release has to be bad. Not every relationship was toxic. Not every business opportunity was wrong. Not every season was a mistake. Sometimes something served its purpose, but now it's complete. So I want you to ask yourself a question today. Where am I asking for something new while refusing to release what belongs to the old? Maybe it's physical. Maybe you really do need to clean out your closet. Maybe you need to organize that garage and clean things out of your house to create some space. Maybe it's your calendar. You've been asking for new opportunities, but every minute of your week is already committed to obligations that don't serve your new identity. They just no longer align with where you're going, but they're what you're used to. Maybe it's your business. You've asked for higher level clients while continuing to give all of your energy to clients that don't represent the business that you're building anymore. It could be a habit, a relationship, a belief about money, a belief that success has to be difficult. Maybe it's a belief that you should take every opportunity because another one just might not come. It could be something fear-based like that. Maybe you need to release this internal belief, and maybe it is your identity all the way around. Have you awakened to something that you want to become, but you're still protecting the identity of who you've always been? Perhaps that's the real vacuum that you need to create. The life you desire is created by the person you become, and becoming sometimes requires releasing. So this week, I want to challenge you. Don't just ask, what do I want to attract into my life? Instead, ask, what do I need to release to make room for it? Awaken to what's possible. Become the person capable of creating it. Align your decisions with that identity, including being willing to release what no longer belongs. And then create the space for the new reality to emerge. Because your next level may not require you to do more. It may require you to finally let go of what no longer aligns with who you've decided to become. Maybe it's evidence that you're finally ready for something new. Let that empty space exist. Don't be afraid of it. Just look at it and decide this fits who I'm going to become, even if I don't see it there yet. This has been the Revolution of Purpose podcast. And remember, the life you desire is created by the person you become. Continue to live your own revolution of purpose. I'll see you next episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, if it challenged you, or if it helped you see your life a little bit differently, would you do me a favor? Subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating or review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Every share helps us reach more people who are searching for hope, purpose, and a life of greater meaning. And if you're ready to stop wondering what's next and start living with greater clarity and purpose in your own life, I would love to meet with you personally. Visit johnstreet.org right now to schedule your complimentary live purpose and clarity call with me. Until next time, remember, your purpose is not something you find. It is something you awaken to, and then you choose to live it. Go make today another step in your own revolution of purpose.